Hello, and welcome to a bonus episode of Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula. I'm Nikki. I'm a death doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And we are between seasons right now, but I have something I've been holding on to for the right moment. And I feel like I'm just going to record this now, which is well before the season break, and put it out during the season break as a quick little mini episode. I love when I hear from my listeners. And mostly I love when they say good things or just let me know that somehow my podcast has impacted them. So I wanted to take a second to read an email I received from a listener, and I did receive permission, so I am allowed to read this email to you. But this email came from Kim. So Kim, hello. I told you I would read this one day. Here we are. But Kim, I'll read her story first, and I apologize. Kim did not share pronouns, so Kim, I hope you are she, her. If not, please correct me, and I will let my listeners know. But Kim sent me an email to let me know that she just recently found my show. Now, granted, she sent this back in May. She just found my show and became a quick fan, which made me feel so good inside. She found my show because her father very recently passed away. And as she said, it was the first significant death in close family, and wrote something beautiful right after her father's death. So I wanted to read to you what she wrote, again, with permission, regarding her father's death. Early morning yesterday, my dad took his last breath. I got to hold his hand and sing him a lullaby as he left. There was an otherworldly quality in those final moments, feeling his deep sighs grow further apart and being with him as his body let go of this life. I kept singing to him after he lay still, feeling life still lingering around him but no longer quite in him. The grief and relief hitting me in waves. I have such profound gratitude to share this moment with him. I didn't know death could be so healing, and I'm only beginning to realize what a gift his last few days were to him, to me, and to my siblings. My dad had a complex and often difficult life. He was a many-layered person with an incredibly brilliant mind, a compassionate heart, and a lifetime of fascinating adventures. He gave his kids unconditional love and acceptance in spite of the inner struggles he fought. He was a gifted storyteller with an imagination like no other. He was a social worker who used his career to make the world a better place for others. He sadly didn't give himself the same care and empathy. On a deep level, I think he felt he was completely alone, undeserving of love. Chronic depression and addictions unfortunately steered most of his decisions, and he had a pattern of sabotaging what good things he did have, a legacy of childhood trauma. Memories of him bring up a pendulum of emotions: gratitude, anger, compassion, frustration, and grief for what could have been, had he learned to love himself. I have prepared and steeled myself for his death since I was a young child. Every time his mood got so low that he would think of ending his life. Every time he left the house drunk, every time he would go missing for days, or the police would call, I would think, this is it. This could be the last time I see him. I would dread that moment, picturing him in some tragic situation that validated his belief that he was unlovable and alone. And so I have mentally prepared myself for it 100 times over, readying myself for the day I get that terrible call and the deep pit of despair it would unleash. But instead, my dad got the most beautiful passing I could have asked for. Just 6 months shy of 80, he lived far longer than any of us had thought he would. He was in care for his last 5 years, where he was away from his addictions and was stable for the first time in my memory. I could let go of the stress that came with anticipating his next crisis, knowing he was safe, and actually enjoying being his kid. 2 months ago, we moved him from long-term care in Vancouver to Nelson in order to be close by, and he was in decent health for his last few months. I got to spend time in his company and appreciate the intelligent, funny, and curious man that he was. I wish I had more time with him nearby, but I'm so glad for what I did get. It was only on Wednesday that he had signs of cardiac failure, and by Thursday he was in palliative care. While he could still eat and talk, I fed him Haagen-Dazs ice cream, his favorite, and a beer, and his requested last meal. Even after he could no longer respond, I was able to share with him many of my favorite moments, remind him of the things he taught me and the good he did, and tell him how loved he is. My brothers and uncle were able to come and spend his last day with him, saying their goodbyes. We had just enough time to say everything that needed saying to thank him for the gifts he left this world. In his final hours, I got to tell him he was not alone, that I would not leave his side. I got to remind him over and over that he was deeply loved and that he was a good man. When the fear of the unknown would creep in, I got to contemplate the mystery of life with him, to wonder what could be beyond so that we could approach that threshold beyond worlds with openness. I got to hold his hand and walk with him to the very edge of his life to see him off. All the words had been spoken by the end, and it felt fitting to sing my favorite childhood lullaby, Silver Moon, until he passed on. When I was ready to leave his side and take a breath out in the courtyard, I was greeted by the most luminous full moon and a warm, calm spring night. I could feel my dad with me and the deepest sense of peace and gratitude I could imagine. It was one of those moments of such exquisite perfection and presence and beauty. My little heart could barely comprehend the gift I had just been given. I hope that my dad's death helped heal his life. I can feel that it has mine. He was never alone and never unloved. I will miss you, Dad. Silver moon, ever so far away, in the night shining bright, comes at the close of day. Birds are sleeping, flowers have closed their eyes, stars are peeping. Shine till the morning rise. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing that beautiful writing with us and the song, which I didn't sing, sorry. Thank you so much for sharing that. What a beautiful story. And I am so grateful for you and for your family that you got to have this beautiful experience with your dad. I know I've mentioned many times on the show that I lost both my brother and my mother very unexpectedly and did not get this type of experience with either of them. I did get to be with my mom as she took her final breaths. I did get to spend time with her as she was dying, but I didn't get to talk to, I talked to her, but I didn't get to experience her talking back or anything like that. So anytime I hear of somebody that gets to have these beautiful experiences, it warms my heart to know that they can experience this love and this fulfilling goodbye. So thank you, Kim, so much for sharing that story. If you have a story you might want to share on my show or just want to say hello, you can go to nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast. You can find all the information there. You can reach out to me. And if you want to support me in the show, as always, please go over to patreon.com/nikkithedeathdoula. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get early access to the show, other great content throughout the month, and you'll be helping me to provide pro bono work within the community. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, as always, your grief is yours, your feelings are valid, and grief doesn't always have to suck. Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula is produced by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC in Columbus, Ohio. Nikki the Death Doula LLC is for consulting, education, emotional support, and guidance, and is no way considered a funeral establishment or licensed mental health establishment. Scripts, editing, sound design, literally everything with this podcast is done solely by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC.